Hey y'all, I am Hope Smitherman, otherwise known as Crafty Hope, and I am here working today in the Graphics Arts 6x6 Mixed Media Journal, and we're going to alter the cover of it today. And what I did is I took that 6x6 journal and took the front cover off. It is their natural chipboard. As well, I pulled out the wet media Dura-Lar page and one of the opaque white Dura-Lar pages. You can see some of the other pages I've altered in this journal, but look how easy those pop out. I love that. So I'm going to take these 3 pages and head to my 80-watt Omtech laser cutter. You can see I built a little frame there so all of these pages can pop in and have the same starting point. And then I cut. For the chipboard, I'm using a speed of 75 millimeters per second and a power of 35%. And you'll see these pop out. I did do 2 passes on the chipboard of that just because I wasn't comfortable that it was securely cut through the first time. So that's one of the benefits of that frame. For the white Dura-Lar, I used a speed of 300 millimeters a second and a power of 25 to 30%. And also you saw there I used a program called Lightburn to design those pages. So these here I cut holes down the right and the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing here in the wet media Dura-Lar, but using a speed of 300 millimeters a second and a power of 20 to 25%. Those are a little bit harder to see, but basically I'm going to stitch those 2 pages together here in a little bit. Now I gessoed both my little pointer there and my chipboard off camera. Actually, I did it on camera, but there were some malfunctions. So once those were both gessoed with just some basic white gesso, I'm going to alter them. I love that this chipboard is so great to alter in this way. Now, you saw I used the laser cutter. If you don't have a laser cutter, remember this is chipboard. You can cut into it with a craft knife or some other material. If you've got some other tools that will work on it, I say go for it. So you can see I added just a little bit of collage with some fluid matte medium, and I'm putting a little acrylic craft paint on there to just, and y'all, this is a color I love. So I'm putting a little bit of me into this. And then this is a bingo marker that I'm going to splotch over here, wet it down, let it drip, get it nice and grungy. That is, I love a little bit of grunge. And then once that is done, I will dry it really well before I come in with a stencil and some gold acrylic paint. Now, I'm going to let you know that I created the stencil using the stencil material from Graphics Arts and my laser cutter using the same settings I had for the wet media Dura-Lar, which is a speed of 300 and a power of 20 to 25. So I'm going to put that all around the circle and then come back in and alter my little pointer. I'm using black acrylic paint and go ahead and paint the whole thing with the black acrylic paint. I probably should just start it with some black gesso, but I wasn't sure what I was going to do yet. Once I get it all painted, I'm going to go back over just the pointer part of it with more of that gold acrylic paint. I'm glad I kept it on my desk so I could do that. And I will put it aside to also dry. I did see that the chipboard bowed a little while it was wet, but once it was fully dry, it was flat once again. So I'm going to give you a look at that super shiny pointer. And then I'm going to alter the black portion of it with just a bit of a sponge and more of that same acrylic paint that I like so much, so that it matches the cover so well. And then I will pop the cover right back on the front. And once I get it on there, I'm going to work with a film that I haven't mentioned yet, which is the 0.010 clear Dura-Lar. That's what I'm going to attach my spinner to. So I'm going to take the frame that we had there from the beginning. I designed this so that I could pop that back in there and find the center. And I'm going to use a Sharpie just to mark that center. Pull all of that back out, flip my page. I'll end up pulling my page out here in just a second. And I'm going to use a crocodile to punch the hole. So there we can see my mark, and I will use I think it's the 1/8 setting on the crocodile to get that. And I like the crocodile because I can reach all the way into the center to get that hole. And I'm going to attach that spinner there with just a brad. So I'm going to put my brad in there, make sure everything's nice, push those little prongs down, and once it's down, I can pop it back into my journal, and I have a spinner. Now, this is great, but what is it pointing to? We've got to have something for it to point to. So what I am going to do is create a pocket with the other 2 pages. So I started by trying to punch a hole with a paper punch in the wet media Dura-Lar, and y'all, you can see, did not have much success, but scissors worked great. Then I am going to stitch together that wet media Dura-Lar and the opaque white Dura-Bright. And I'm starting by tying a knot with some embroidery floss and going through each of these holes. So I'm just going to do a whip stitch, I believe. Is that what it's called? A simple stitch. I contemplated doing a blanket stitch, but I decided to keep it easy here. These films will also go through your sewing machine. So if you'd rather do that, that's great. But since I had the laser cutter, I thought, hey, this is easy enough. All right, so I'm going to come to this end here and tie it off as well. And once it's tied off, I have a great little pocket that I can put some little cards into with different things that my spinner can point to. Now, I like this idea of a pocket simply because I am so indecisive, and this way I can have several different things. So for this one that I'm going to show you, I'm using, it's a jelly print. It's a mono print on some cardstock. I'm going to cut it down to the width of my width and height of my pocket, and then place it behind that circle I have there so that I'm going to take a felt tip pen in this case and just trace that circle so I know how big. So this works great as a template for this as well. And then I will use a ruler to section this off. Now, I'm going to admit my sections are not great. I should have maybe pulled out some geometry skills, but I decided, nah, let's just go for it. So I'm going to make a wonky pie. So here we go, making a wonky pie on here. And I knew I needed 6 sections, so I'm going to make sure I draw 3 lines, and that will make 6 sections here. And then I typed up some words, and these are different prompt words that I can use. And as I cut them, I am inking the edges, and I'll use my Oohoo glue stick to stick them into each of the pie sections. And these say different things like photo, flower, color, feeling, lyric, and quote. That way, when I need some inspiration, I can find it by spinning my little thing and going, oh, I'm going to use a quote to work on my next journal page. And y'all, it slips right into my little pocket, just like that. And you can see I've got 2 other cards. One of them has colors, and one is more like a magic 8 ball that says things like yes, no, definitely. I did leave a strand of the embroidery floss there, so I'm going to slide some beads onto it and tie a surgeon's knot, which is just a knot with I'm going to go through it, that loop 3 times, and then I will trim it. And once that is done, for the most part, this journal cover is done. Granted, it's more than a cover. It's got depth to it. I like that I can create all kinds of little things to put in that pocket as detailed as I want, and I really love it. I should have a longer version of this video and process over on my YouTube channel if you want to check that out. And I encourage you to go check out the grafixarts.com site to learn more about this mixed media journal along with all of their other products. Thanks so much for coming by and watching, and I will see y'all later. Bye!